Yes. You yourself as a brother? I suppose.
All right, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the NFP Review Board for Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. Nolan, will you please call the roll?
Yeah, Hollander. Here. Frederickson.
Here.
Rowe.
Here.
Mergia.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Bassett. Here. Stemple.
Can I get a motion to excuse absent members?
So moved.
Support.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item B, adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Support.
All right. Can I get a all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item C, approval of the minutes. Are there any amendments or comments related to the draft meeting minutes from October 28th, 2025 NFP meeting? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the October 28th, 2025 NFP meeting as presented?
So moved.
Support.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item D, public comments. If there are any general comments from the public, please come forward, state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. All right, I'm seeing no one step forward in person. Do we have any call-in comments? We'll give it a minute too, just because of the internet lag. So. All right, sounds like no call-in comments. Item E, board member comments. Is there any comments at this time about anything from any of the board members? Hearing none, moving on. Item F, new business, 1400 Harrison Street, the new wastewater treatment facility. Nolan, can you please provide a background on this new business item?
Yeah, before I get into the agenda report, Director Mergia, if you'd like to make an announcement related to the new business item.
Yes, thank you. I'll need to recuse myself from voting on this one as I work for the company that did the threatened and endangered species assessment for this.
Thank you. Yeah, we did review that with the city attorney's office, and that was deemed appropriate for this case. So I just wanted to put that out there. So a little bit of background on the project, and excuse my voice, I'm getting over a little bit of a seasonal bug. But project's located at 1400 Harrison Street. It's right adjacent to the Kalamazoo River, and not too far away from, it's right across the street from Vereberg Park, on the north side of town. And it's basically one parcel that's a part of a large complex of industrial parcels in that part of the city. And in this area, it's kind of related to the wastewater treatment plant and graphic packaging campus. This property in particular is owned by Graphic Packaging International, zoned M2 or general manufacturing. That district is intended primarily to accommodate that low, moderate, and high impact industrial type use. It's been, that property in particular has been zoned that way for quite some time, and it is a little bit built out. There's not a ton of structures on site right now, but there's some impervious surface. This project might seem a little, or this address might seem a little bit familiar, as a couple years ago, it did come before the NFP board for a different project. That was a clarifier project, which is located just a little bit north to this project area, but in the same vicinity, right next to the Kalamazoo River, essentially very similar. So, you know, this project is in NFP district because of the proximity to the river. There is some wooded, maybe not quite delineated as woodland areas right along the riverbank in the riparian zone. It's also a property that came up positive in the MNFI database back when we did phase 2 of NFP, so there was that rare species component. And the site had completed previously that Michigan State University Extension MNFI report. They also had a field report or field assessment done back in 2023, which is a part of the packet that you all received. It was determined at that point, the field inspector had concluded that there's no high-quality habitat, including potential bat, trees, existing within the project area that could provide habitat for threatened or endangered species, and it's unlikely that the project is going to be impacting or having an effect on any state or federally listed rare protected species. So again, this is from that 2023 project, but this is exactly in the same area. So again, I mentioned the woodland standard doesn't really apply in this case, and there's stands of trees right in the riparian zone, but the project is buffering itself, or the project area is outside of the zone of impact for those trees. It's probably about, I think it's 180 feet buffer between the riparian zone area and the project area. Due to the proximity to the Kalamazoo River and Vereberg Park, which is a public park, this project required public notice. So kind of a different one. Usually the public notice component comes with a project that's coming before you for like a variance recommendation. In this case, it was triggered because of public water body, also public green space that's accessible. So, and then The water resources standard applies, so the minimum setback's 25 feet, and like I mentioned, they are meeting that requirement. They're actually well buffered from the river as it stands right now, as well as some of those trees. So with that, I'll invite them to come up and provide extra background or present to the board.
My name is Michael Hurley and Stewart. Also with me today from Hurley and Stewart is Lori Davis. She is our landscape architect, so she can answer any and all questions regarding the landscaping plan. And also with me today is Eddie Canales from Graphic Packaging, so he can give you guys a summary and some background info on the actual wastewater facility that we are proposing. So Nolan and I are going to try to tag team this while he is sharing the screen. That is a copy of our topographic survey. As Nolan mentioned, you can kind of see in the top right corner where that circle is, that was our O2 clarifier project that I believe we presented in 2023. Our project area is directly south of that. It is the same parcel, it's just a different project area. You can see in the northwest corner of that green space that Nolan was just kind of referencing, there's an existing bunker right there, and you can kind of see the two lines coming off the north side of that. There's an overhead conveyor that dumps plastics and paper products into this bunker that is eventually loaded into a truck and taken off-site. Currently, that's not covered. So one of our big focuses of this project is to prevent any of this plastic and paper material entering the Kalamazoo River, because as it is now, it ends up in that green space surrounding it, in the pavement surrounding that whole area, which ultimately gets into our storm system and outlets into the Kalamazoo River. Go ahead and skip to the next one. This is the cover sheet for our plans. So Hurley and Stewart is not actually the civil engineer for this project. It's contracted out through a company called Yates Engineering out of Birmingham, Alabama. So we are just kind of coordinating the whole process with the city and Graphic Packaging and Yates. So we can answer design questions, but maybe not to the fullest capability as some of the engineers could. And I think at this time I'll let Eddie come on up and just give a very brief summary of the actual facility being proposed.
Hello. All right. Well, back in 2023, we started looking at the wastewater facility for Graphic Packaging. In particular, and starting some of these projects back there, it was to really enhance and ultimately improve what Graphic Packaging's been doing back there for wastewater treatment. And not just for our mill, but for also the city and residents around the surrounding area. Some of those improvements over time have been oxygen injection into the clarifier. That's really helped for the bacterial growth and other things that we've had problems with. We put an air scrubber. The air scrubber really helped clean up the air quality for H2S. And now we are working on this new wastewater treatment building that essentially will take all the plastics that are coming off of our reject lines and treating that and putting it into the bunker pad that we have existing out there. It'll consist of 3 main filtration parts. The main filtration is about 500 microns, so that's like equivalent to 0.5 millimeter for plastics. So it'll be a great improvement of what we're sending out currently to the city wastewater treatment center. And it will be a 98% reduction in plastics. This is a big one. So with that being said, the building itself is about 33,000 square feet, and we'll be planning to put it south of the bunker pad, and we'll have also future design to grab even more plastics with a dissolving air flotation units. That will be placed sometime in the next 2 years. So there's a lot of room for growth and a lot more room to really improve what we're doing out there and for everyone. So that's what I got to say.
Thank you, Eddie. So in addition to the facility itself, you can see there's an existing, you can't see in this image, but there's an existing gravel drive that comes off just north and east of the building. They're going to utilize that and pave it so they have an entrance. There's some gravel and some concrete areas there as well. The existing bunker is going to stay. You can skip to the next slide. As you can see here, this is still the paving plan. Yeah, there we go. So this is our sanitary sewer plan and fire department connection plan. All of the utilities that are being proposed for this facility are going to be on the south and the west side of the building. So again, we're staying as far away from possible as we can from the east side, from the Kalamazoo River, and from any of the trees and the wood line that's over there. As Nolan summarized earlier, it's our interpretation that we have no impacts to any protected slopes, any trees, or the Kalamazoo River as part of this project. You can go ahead and skip to the next slide. As you can kind of see, there's a dashed line there, very faint on the east side of that. That represents that existing gravel drive. And this dimensions, like Nolan said, I believe it's 188 feet from the edge of water to our project site. So well within, or well outside of that buffer for the Kalamazoo River. You can kind of see all these lines that angle to like a central location right there. We currently have, for the O2 injection project, a bay saver there to treat the stormwater. So currently we have this graded out as a swale that's going to collect all the storm and retain it and eventually outlet to that existing structure for it all to continue to be treated. Go ahead and skip to the next one. Again, there's not a lot of relevant information in here as far as natural features go, since there's not really any impact to natural features. This is our SCSC plan we put together, again, to prevent any erosion moving outside of our project area. Go ahead and skip to the next one. This is just our demo plan. Again, you can kind of see on the west side of our building is our proposed sanitary location. All of our water connection is going to happen out of Patterson from the south. Again, no impacts to anything east of that existing gravel drive or in any proximity to the river. Go ahead and skip to the next one. This is our watershed map. Again, as Nolan said, we're adding some additional paved areas, so we wanted to make sure we're accounting for all of that in our storm calculations, which this shows adequately. And I believe the next slide is our landscape plan, which I will pass over to Lori.
Good evening. In 2021, I believe it was, Graphic Packaging improved to the west of this site a parking lot, which required that we improve all the plantings along Patterson, and it came through this board and was approved. So most of the required plantings for the site were already taken care of. For the additional 2 acres that were being impacted, we've added 2 additional trees you can see in pink, kind of towards the riverside. I've selected red maples as native plants. They are different varieties than are along the frontage, which is all also native, just to have some additional varieties of trees. Any questions?
I believe that is the last slide that I have to present for you guys. The rest of everything I have in there is just copies of our NFP application, a couple of copies of the MNFI report and the ASTI reports that we had done in 2023. But I believe you guys have all accessed those and have reviewed those. So,
Great, thank you. I'd like to take a moment for public comment, if there is any. If there's any in-person public comments, not seeing any. Do phone call-in public comments, and we'll give that another minute. And while doing so, we can kind of all look over the information too. All right, hearing no phone call-in comments, now we'll open it up for discussion and questions from board members.
I just had one question. I'm having trouble seeing a limits of construction, but if you were to be within the areas of the existing trees, do you have a plan for tree protection?
Actually, Nolan, if you go back one more slide, this isn't exactly the limits of construction. That might have slipped through the cracks, but you can see this kind of cyan light blue line. The red line that's surrounding that is essentially our limits of construction. There will be no more grading that happens outside of that extent. I believe that's like a 768 contour that we're tying into an existing 768 contour, so no site grading will be done in anything outside of that construction area. So to your question, we haven't really thought about any tree protection because we are being pretty adamant about staying away from all of that as we can.
Yep, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
I didn't state the staff recommendation during my report portion, but I will say that one of the conditions for approval was some tree protection, temporary tree protection fencing alongside this soil erosion, soil control fencing for that eastern edge, even if it's outside the work area, but just to maintain the integrity of the trees that are in that riparian zone and, you know, to ensure impacts to that area are mitigated to the extent possible. So that is in the staff report. Lori, could you maybe speak to the landscaping plan, the seed mix? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a standard seed mix to restore the existing turf that's out there. It's not a high slope that we expect to erode at all, so just a standard seed mix that they'll be able to mow in the future.
And the two red maples that's our zoning code coming into play. So based on the acreage of the parcel, I think it's 1 tree per acre. So it's 2 acres, 2 trees. So that's why those are the additional plantings. But
All right, is there any more questions or discussion from board members? Do we need any more time? All right, sounds like none. Can I get a motion to approve the NFP site plan for 1400 Harrison Street wastewater treatment plan project conditioned upon full site plan approval from the city stormwater engineer, and addition of tree protection fencing for the stands of trees adjacent to the Kalamazoo River to be included on the SESC plans?
So moved.
Support.
All right. This one will need a roll call vote. Nolan, will you please call the roll?
Hollander,
Yes.
Frederickson,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Mergia,
I'm recused from the vote.
That's right. That's good.
That was a test.
Excuse me. Martin,
Yes.
Bassett.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Cool, thank you. Moving on to item G, unfinished business. It looks like there is none at this moment. Staff reports and updates. Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 presentation. Now we provide some background on this.
Yeah. Kudos to Director Mergia for that catch. That's just me, creature of habit. Yeah, so, excuse me, gosh. I wanted to give a brief update on where we're at with Imagine Kalamazoo 2035, specifically the drafting of the strategic vision. So this is basically what we need first. These are like the pillars of the master plan. I believe Director Bassett and Director Frederickson have been a part of some of the Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 activities and even held a meeting on the go for the board. So this is just something that we're going to give to a lot of the boards at the city as we roll into the new year and some of the next steps. So broadly speaking, go over some of the outreach and engagement that's happened, some of that analysis and the initial results of the input that's been received, looking at the strategic framework for this master plan and strategic vision, which is the happy, healthy city concept, excuse me, and next steps. So, if we look at the broad term map, right now we're in between the plan it phase and the design it phase, and the design it phase is actually going to kick off in the new year. This would probably be putting us a little slightly behind what the original schedule was, but with this process, we're able to kind of make our own schedule. So these deadlines are flexible in the sense that, as we did the Imagine It phase and the Plan It phase, we got a lot of outreach and engagement. We were able to flex those deadlines and do some more outreach. So this whole process has been able to be that pliable and be responsive to the needs of the community. But we are, staff is working on it, and coming in early 2026, we'll probably launch with some neighborhood by neighborhood meetings related to the strategic vision. So for both of you, Directors Bassett and Frederickson, if you want to continue working through this IK process, just let me know. So I can let Christina and some others know as we start those meetings in 2026. We probably want volunteers and folks to be present for those. So that is upcoming.
The plan for this design it phase is, did you just say neighborhood meetings specifically?
So yeah, so a lot of those meetings we've been holding. We did some public meetings, but a lot of it's been like stakeholder type meetings, meetings with businesses, meetings with different organizations. And now we're in a place where we can branch out and meet with the neighborhood associations and the residents of those neighborhoods. So it'll be similar activities to what we've done, but at that neighborhood scale. So I think we're still working on it, still finalizing it. It's going to be, we've got 21 or 22 neighborhoods. So it's going to be quite a few meetings between January and March. So we're still working on finalizing those, but they're coming.
Yeah. Happy to help.
So question though, with continuing on with the partners group, is the role going to be very similar to what it's been up until now? Or is there a change that's happening?
Yeah, it should be very similar.
Okay.
So.
You can let Christine in the group now. I'd still be interested in helping.
Okay. Yep, she just is interested in knowing who still wants to, like I said, we're doing this for all of our boards right now, so, well, you never know, it's a new year, a lot of people get busy, so we just want to make sure you guys are still wanting to volunteer in that capacity. So during that first process, we did the meetings on the go. We did the IK Reads program with Happy Healthy City. We did a community-wide survey, excuse me, with virtual and in-person input activities, like I mentioned, and we also did a community roadshow. And for IK Reads, we had the author actually come to town and speak, which I thought was really interesting, kind of to have that chance for the community to interact with the person who wrote the book that they're joining us and reading. So, And just some of the high-level stuff that happened at the early phases. We did those 5 public meetings in March and April. We did some small group discussions focusing on the goals and outcomes for the strategic vision. And there was that online companion survey as, an addendum to that work. Then we narrowed it down to those focus groups, which I think some of you attended. We had a report out, and we did some peer, facilitated exercises. And this is the big thing I wanted to talk about. So far, through all of these various engagement tools, we've had about 4,299 points of contact. And really, that's a lot better, excuse me, that's actually a lot more than Imagine Kalamazoo 2025. So we're actually kind of ahead of the curve, or, we're in a world where people are more interested in being involved in this work than maybe 10 years ago. It's also a different world, so, but that's really good. So that's helping create a more solid foundation for the strategic vision as it forms. I thought what was really interesting to me was the youth art projects. I'm sure we did some of those in IK 2025, but to have nearly 120 of those was pretty cool to see. It's one of those demographic groups that we don't often reach as well. Can also be a complicated group to reach, so that was a really cool way to bridge that gap. So what, as we've been analyzing and reviewing the input, balancing data and the community, so leaning on community voices, best practices, and staff expertise, and the data component kind of all coalesces and brings us closer to the strategic vision. And then looking at, the vision, purpose, values, goals, and how that's helping guide what we do. So, the community vision is describing what the community is looking for and what they want the city to feel like in the future. And that's a lot of community partnership with the city and city staff. Then there's the organization's purpose, like why are we doing what we're doing? So a good example of that from IK 2025, right? We had the environmental responsibility pillar, or strategic vision goal, and NFP came out of that, right? So a lot of the reasons for why we're doing stuff today is really, really tied back to our strategic vision. Then the organization's values, so operationalizing what our purpose is and being able to implement it. That's one thing I think we struggled with, being honest with the previous strategic vision and master plan is, okay, how are we tracking and closing out what we're doing, right? There's a lot of goals too that don't necessarily have a great endpoint, right? They're kind of a continuously moving target. But how do we cater our organizational values to what we need to get done? And then the guiding principles and goals. So basically being able to define the next 10 years and having that foundation to continue all this work. So that was kind of what we were looking for out of that first bit of engagement. And so right now, the vision statement is in 2035, all Kalamazoo neighborhoods are supported by sustainable, responsive, and accessible services, city services, that lift people up and bring our community together at every stage of life. So that is the vision statement that's been coalesced out of all the engagement we've done. The organizational purpose. The city's purpose is to provide essential resources, services, and exceptional customer service to ensure the well-being of our residents and the sustainable growth of our city. So again, coming out of what we've been learning at these different meetings and internal and external engagement. Then our organizational values. integrity, learning, inclusion, customer service, accountability, teamwork, and safety. And those are pretty much going to be the, right now, those are the drafted pillars of the values for our city as an organization. Then looking at our strategic vision framework and Happy Healthy City, the Happy Healthy City was really helping us align our engagement and understanding what we're trying to move towards. And you can see the data, best practices, community voices acts as that baseline to help create the IK 2035 vision. From that vision, we get our strategic vision plan. From that, we get our master plan and everything that comes after that. So think NFP, think neighborhood plans, think the sustainability plan, if we're thinking about something that was completed rather recently. And all of that alignment comes up to, internal department plans and then just the overall values for the organization, our vision as an organization, what we're supposed to be doing. So it all kind of is building on itself as we go. Kind of think of it as a snowball. And then, so the section on the right, there's a lot of internal aspects to that. That's going to guide us. And then what we're committing to. Right now, so what's been interesting is through this process, we've seen shifts in mindset from people from IK 2025 until now. So you can kind of see the shift from 10 years ago till now. There was a lot of discussions around diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. A lot of discussions around sustainability. That's really come to the forefront. Operational excellence, so that's kind of that good governance. If we look, back at the 2025 IK plan. Continuous engagement, which can always be difficult for an organization our size, but a lot of people want to stay involved and get involved, and how can we reach them better? And then another key one is economic mobility. So how can we help support, community development, economic development, housing? How are we helping support the prosperity of residents? So if that's our guiding principles, then we drill down a little further to our strategic goals. Out of these, we've got arts, culture, and placemaking, community trust and safety, economic vitality, effective city operations, the environment, housing, transportation, youth and family. So these are slightly different than what we currently have in our current strategic vision. They're slightly different, but the core of it is still there. I think the two that I don't remember seeing before are the arts, culture, and placemaking, as well as youth and family, really taking a front and center focus. Transportation and the environment and housing, of course, are still big ones. So those were three really key big ones that we had even 10 years ago. So those are still front of people's minds. So how does this work when we go to adopt our strategic vision? It goes to the city commission, or it will be going to the city commission, hopefully in the new year. Then they'll go to planning commission to do another presentation, and then hopefully looking at final approval in February. But again, this can be a little bit of a moving target, but this is what we're shooting for right now, is to have the strategic vision ready to go. Technically, we wanted to have it ready to go before 2026, but again, we pivoted a little bit and did some more work and are hoping to have it ready to go by February. Yeah, and then like I mentioned, so we've got a lot happening this winter. So I think we are actually up to 13 neighborhood meetings, and that's after combining some. So that's going to be over like 3 months. So it's going to be a busy 3 months. We'll have online activities. We're going to keep going on Imagine Kalamazoo Reads, and there'll still be focus group sessions. So for the folks on NFP that are going to volunteer, you'll probably be involved in some of those focus group sessions again, and probably get invited to some of the neighborhood meetings too. So again, we are still moving along with, before the end of 2026, this is very like, pie in the sky. I think we'll probably move that target a little bit again as we go back out to the community, but the hope is that we'll have a master plan drafted in 2026 and hopefully have it adopted before the end of the year. So, and that will be another 10 years of Imagine Kalamazoo. So it's been a pretty interesting process. I don't know if any of you wanted to share your personal connections to any of this work so far, either as a volunteer, or like if you went to any meetings, or any takeaways from, the slides. I think, for me at least, the 3 pillars of that vision that I'm seeing right now are that transportation, housing, and environment are really sticking, right? And those, I think, they're beyond our borders, too. Those are a lot of places that have that as similar goals, similar work to do in those areas, but open it up for any questions or discussion. I'll stop coughing.
I mean, just one general thought that I know by the time all of this is completed, there's going to be some really frustrated people in the community. It's bound to happen, but what I've seen through the process is there's been more effort at least trying to get input and ideas from the citizens of Kalamazoo than I think is, I don't know, than I expected even. Just the amount of effort to going out and trying to get, what is done with that information and how it all gets kind of woven together is yet to be seen, but I'd say A for effort in the very least. So I was impressed by that along the way.
Yeah, I think we do our best with the engagement piece. You saw it in there. Continuous engagement is something people are interested in as an organizational value. I will be interested to see how we're able to execute that and move it forward, because it, good example is, this is just like a general example, but, we have our newsletters at the city. We have so many different resources like social media. We do mailers. We try to be pretty active in all those facets, but we still aren't reaching everybody. So trying to understand how we get through the gaps or figure out what the gaps are and how to fill those up. And then just recognizing that we won't always reach everybody directly. I have an example. I remember someone came to a public meeting one time and, was like, I heard about this from a friend. I didn't get it, something in the mail. And it's like, but you're here. Like, you did hear about it from your friend. Like, that's a whole, like, that's the community at work, right? Like, there's other networks that we have to rely on, too, to help get people out. But, like, the prosperity piece, housing, transportation, there's a lot of people we can't reach because of factors that are sometimes outside our control, right? Like, economic factors, stresses on housing, our transportation system. Some of that we can work on locally, but how do we reach people that maybe don't have the time or resources to come and be a part of this stuff? That's the part that can be tough. So.
Cool, thanks for that, Nolan. Are there any communications or announcements from staff or board members?
Yeah, I have one announcement, and most of you know, but for the public, it should be posted now. We originally did not have a December meeting. We now have a special meeting in December, which is about 2 weeks away. So 2.5 weeks. So I appreciate those that provided their availability and were willing to do that. After, this meeting, I'll start working on the next one, and then we'll let everybody loose for the holidays. So, but I do appreciate the board members' willingness to look at your schedules and come to a December special meeting, so.
All right, thank you. Anything else from anybody else? Nope. Adjourned.